Alright, let's go over this example. So we just learned about vang, and the verbal is the words. A 7-gallon tank leaks gas 1 gallon every 3 hours. Those are words. And we can change these words to symbols or variables. Something you know very easily is slope-intercept form. Partner A, tell partner B what slope-intercept form is. UNAT, what's slope-intercept form? Well, the verbal tells me a starting point. Put your finger on what you think the starting point is. Well, that tank starts at 7 gallons. My starting point is 7. Now, my slope is it leaks or is losing. That's a negative number, right? My dad used to drive around in a car and he would say, my car's leaking, right? It's losing fluid, right? So that's a negative number. 1 gallon every, another word for every might be per. This is the division. So we're actually doing some translation of words into symbols, math symbols. So 1 divided by 3, so negative 1/3. Think about what's happening here. The negative 1/3 is your rise over run, right? It's your slope. It's your change in your y over your change of x. Class, what does the 1 represent? Losing 1 gallon, right? And what does the 3 represent? 3 hours. So now I can use this table of values. This is the numerically. Everyone say numerically? Normally we just have the x's and y's, right? Class, what does x represent? Big picture, big picture. Hours is what? Time. Measured in hours, as someone mentioned. And what does the y represent? The amount in the tank, right? That's measured in what? That says gallons. So normally you would have said, well, let's assign a variable to something we know, right? You would call it x. We can make it fancier. We can say something like T. T stands for what? Time. And the amount is just a function. Everyone say function. Function of time. The amount we have in that tank is a function of time. Okay, so in the table of values, we're missing some numbers, right? If I put in 0 time, 0 times negative 1/3 gives us 7. If I put in 2 here, let's use our calculators, it might be a little bit faster. Put it into y equals. Notice how I put in the negative 1/3. I'm going to put parentheses first, negative 1 divided by 3. Close parentheses, that's my fraction. And then I put the x. Plus 7. So if I go to my table, everyone say second graph. And I put in there 0. That's my input. my output is what? 7. So here is your numerical. That's the n of vang. Now I'm going to put in 2. We could just write in 6.3. What number is missing here? Counting by 2s, so we're missing 4. 5.6. So in fractions, that was 7, 6 and 1/3, 5 and 2/3. And essentially, you're just going down by 1/3 every 1, or every 2 is 2/3. Put in 6. You get 5. And then what value would we have to put, what input would give me an output of 6? Well, you can use your table of values, right? 6 is in between 2 and 4. And the answer is actually 3. You can put in 3 there, and it gives you 6. You can also figure out that value by just putting 6 over here on the y value. So, how do you make a linear equation a function? Well, we can just, instead of saying y, we can write what, class? F of t. Everyone say f of t. It's called function notation. Equals negative 1/3 x plus 7. And then to graph this is just a slope-intercept form equation. Pretty easy for us. Put your finger on the y-intercept. Y-intercept is here. So 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we're doing the graphical, the g of vang. Remember, this means the negative sign you can assign. You can call this negative 1/3 or 1/-3. You see how it's the same? Watch. Rise of 1, run of -3, which is left. Let's just say I don't have enough space in my graph, so I want to go in this direction. Down 1, right 3. Down 1, rise of -1. Rises up and down. Run is left to right. It's positive, so it's going to the right. Straight edge. We're using lots of graphing in this chapter. Using your calculators, you can verify that. We can label our graphs. This represents t, time, and this is a function of time, is the amount of in our tank. So in this problem, we are doing mathematical modeling. We have vang. Class, what does the V stand for? Just words. A stands for? Say it. Algebraically, that's just your x's and y's. N stands for? Numerical, that's just a table of values. And the G stands for the graphically. That is the Cartesian plane.